Hey folks, Neil Hauger, land specialist with Whitetail Properties Real Estate. Today I'm back on another fantastic farm. This is the Buffalo County 240. I'm flying my drone, getting some drone video of this. And let's talk about this property. You know, this is a mixed use property. It's a active farm, but it's a great hunting farm as well. When I come down in these areas of Buffalo County, it's often very difficult to put a price to these properties. Is it a farm? Is it a hunting destination? Is it both? You know, so the challenges that you have are many. As I do my research on these properties, I use a lot of tools to decide how do I price this property appropriately. In this area of Buffalo County, the average price per acre is about $3,950 an acre. But if you look on the market, you're going to see prices anywhere from $6,000 down to $3,200 an acre and even lower. Then if you take into account that some of those deals were done between family members, they often transfer the value or the property at a very low cost. But that's not going to help you when you set a price because you're not family and you're not going to get that price. So we're going to take a look around this property. We're going to try to set a value. I'm going to talk you through it. So sit back and enjoy. You're watching The American Landman with Whitetail Properties Real Estate. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the features and benefits of this farm and how we put a price to it. On an operating farm such as this, where they're growing corn and soybeans, they're also doing a little cattle operation. Here's the neighbor's cattle sitting there. Access is always key. As I walk through these properties, especially in Buffalo County, there's been a lot of rain in this area in the last couple of years. A lot of these gullies get washed out. So here's an example of where they had to come in and do a little work. And had they not done this, I would say I'd have to go back and maybe reduce the value here. You can see how these culverts have been put in here. It's been dug out. The water used to come through those other culverts and now it's coming through this new one. So they've done some work here. This is a lot of value, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And if they hadn't done this, then this property would not have the value that I might add to it. You see how this water could come raging down through here, wash out this, and just go screaming down the valley. And that's exactly what happened last summer and this summer in Buffalo County. When it comes to livestock, having a source of water on your property it's almost a must. If you don't have a flowing water, then you got to drill a well. You're gonna have to bring the water up, get into stock tanks. When the water in the shoreline is managed well, this could be a real asset. If you're a farmer, you're gonna wanna see this because this is where your cattle are gonna come down. If you're a hunter, the deer are gonna come to this. So anytime you see water that's well maintained, the shoreline looks good, this adds value. You know, I'm sitting in this farm field here, overlooking this beautiful soybean field, just kind of checking out the fertility and the yield that's coming off these plants. What happens when I sell these farms is there's a lot of difficulty in pricing them. You know, grain prices are low right now. Soybeans, I'm not sure what it is a bushel, but corn I think is sub $3 a bushel. And the farmers just cannot operate on that. And we've had this issue for a few years now. And these farms are starting to turn over. These farmers are getting in some financial difficulty. Now, granted, they probably bought this property decades ago and they got it at $300 an acre, but they've got a lot of infrastructure, a lot of investment in equipment and animals and feed and fuel and homes. And they have families that they've grown on these farms and they're hurting financially. So when I come in and I start to price these properties, it's difficult because I want to give them top dollar for the property, but the buyers, you know, they're impersonal to this. Are they buying it for hunting? Are they buying it for farming? If you come into a farm like this that's 240 acres and you're spending $1 million on this, which is easily done, are you going to be able to make a profit at farming? Probably not. If you're coming into it for a hunting purpose, well, the hunting land doesn't bring the same value as good fertile farmland. But this is only going to bring the value when the corn and the soybean prices are up. So right now the market is kind of funny. We're in a weird situation all across the country, and that's some of the struggles that I have when I'm placing values on these properties. And in the end, it comes back to the market. What is the market saying? What's the market doing? And that's the best I can do. With great videography and great photography, I can usually get a better price for these properties, and I do. But it's not easy. It's not easy. You know, land values typically are pretty stable. In a county such as Buffalo County, they probably are at maybe, I don't know, 15-year lows right now, but with an upward trend. I'm seeing properties as high as $6,000 an acre, and some good tillable land I've seen is listed as high as $10,000 an acre, but that's pretty abnormal. One thing to start to look at the value of this, or try to establish the value, is get a hold of a land specialist that has access to software such as Acre Value Pro. Everything begins with the soil, and this good bottom land that we have in Buffalo County on this farm can be very fertile, and that fertility index will help you decide if this is a good quality farm that's going to put out good volumes. And actually, some of the data that I have access to, I can actually show you the yields going back to about 2014, 2015. I know exactly what was planted, I know exactly what the yield was, and I know how the land was used, and that's the value of a land specialist. You know, I'm not a farmer. I grew up around farms, but having been out on so many properties, you start to see certain things. Now here, this farmer, you can see 3 different crops. You've got the alfalfa hay, you got the soybeans, and you got the corn. Now the corn is very agriculturally intense on the property. It takes a lot of nitrogen, a lot of chemicals to get that growing. The soybeans are nitrogen fixing. They're planting these strips of soybeans with the corn, and I'm sure they're rotating it because it fixes nitrogen from the air and puts it in the soil. Therefore, you use less chemicals. You kind of rehabilitate the soil in a sense. And the same thing for this clover and alfalfa. It does the same thing. These farmers are rotating these crops, and I like to see this. This tells me that this farmer's caring for the land. He's not doing monoculture through the entire farm. It's helping with erosion. Some of these fields have got little trenches. I can see how the water's coming down, but because it's planted in these cover crops, you're not losing your topsoil. That's the enemy of these hill countries, is that runoff. You lose all your topsoil. So I like to see this. This is a positive in my eye. They're farming it well. You know, one of the benefits of my job is I get to come out and explore these properties. And I often see things that maybe the average realtor that's not a hunter, doesn't come from a hunting background, might miss. Such as this. These rubs are a sign that there's some good deer on this property. And in counties such as Buffalo, where I'm at, good deer sign, good history of deer kills can really bring value. People will pay for a good property. There's a lot of things that go into a good property. There's access, there's huntability, there's water, there's crops, there's sign, a lot of things, a lot of factors, and they all play into the value. The average realtor will probably just say, hey, this is land, it's huntable, but to a serious hunter, all those factors play into whether they're going to pay up or they're going to pay an average price for a piece of property. So don't discount the huntability of a property. It can really add value. I'm in a little funnel. You can see the fields down there. You can see the cornfield up top where I just came from. This is a nice funnel coming from the other valley, through this valley, up into the ridges. You can't see it because it's all covered with leaves, but there's a trail right here that's deer following this funnel. And this is easily accessible from 2 sides. This morning thermals, I can feel it coming up through my face, heading uphill. Nice top approach and good deer travel corridor. So when you get boots on the ground and you start looking around for this stuff, this is the kind of things that add value. And if you could get a trail camera in here, start to capture some of these deer that are moving through here, man, I tell you what, that's money, because I'm sure there's some big ones, because this property does have a history of some 170-inch class deer shot in this property. Here I'm working my way through this drainage, and there's just a tremendous trail right here. These deer are utilizing this wash, as you can see, really thick cover in here. They're using this wash, following the corn, heading up to those ridges, and that's where we're going. So great ambush spot right through here. You know, oftentimes when I get people that call me about a property, I ask them, how are you going to hunt it? Are you a rifle hunter? Are you a bow hunter? Because the type of terrain that the farm has is going to dictate the best way to hunt it. And this is a good example of a farm that's maybe not so suitable to bow hunting, but would be a great rifle hunt. I'm up on a head of a wash. This is a valley, it goes all the way down to the main creek, and as you can see, views, big views, expansive views. You get a bank's blind up in here, you set up here, you'd have some great hunting. That morning thermal would be bringing your scent right off the property. So this is a great rifle hunt property, maybe marginal bow hunting property, although you can do both. And finally, I find the thick stuff. So this is much more conducive to deer. This is thick. I'm crawling on my hands and knees. This is where they're bedding. They're high. They're catching the morning thermals. They're heading down the crop fields at night. This is where you need to be. You know, here's an example of the erosion I talk about. And you got to get back into these properties to find this. But there's a lot of rain that's coming down through here. Gravity's just pulling this topsoil down. It's making these things bigger and bigger. And the way you stop this is you have to have some catchment basins, and they would come in here and they would trench this out, make a little pool, slow it down, slow the velocity of the water down, stop this erosion, maybe do 2 or 3 all the way down the valley. There's actually government funds that can help you do this and kind of offset the cost. And this is definitely something that needs to be done here because a lot of topsoil is being lost here, a lot. And here's the house. Now, on a lot of these older farms, this house is in great shape. It's better than most. They have moved off these farms and moved away, or in this case, they built another house just down the valley. But it's in great shape and needs a little TLC, a little paint, a little carpet, but it's ready to go. And if you can find these opportunities where perhaps the owner is motivated to move out, or they have moved out, this can be a potential savings when you make your offer. The owners could be motivated to sell. With a little TLC, you could turn this into a great looking house. Well, it's harvest time in Wisconsin. You can see the combines, they're picking the beans. And you know, these farms are becoming fewer and fewer, these family farms. At one time, this farm was just a bursting activity of cows and cattle and plants and crops, just all kinds of things going on. But now this land is probably rented out, or maybe family is working the land and the house is ready to be sold. These buildings are still usable though. It could be maybe converted into a higher use opportunity such as horses, a hobby farm. Perhaps you could buy the house with a couple acres and begin your own operation. So look for these opportunities. These buildings are in great shape and they're still usable. Well, that's the end of the tour today. I hope you found it interesting. You know, the challenge with properties like this is trying to figure out what the buyer is going to want and then list it and price it according to its highest and best use. You know, we're in Buffalo County. We've talked about the hunting capability. This farm has it. This farm has produced 170-inch bucks, but it's also got great agricultural opportunity. They have some cattle on here. There's an old farmhouse that's in great shape. A little TLC, you got a nice place. You know, the next buyer might come in here. They might want to maybe split off 20 acres and sell the house, keep the farmland to help them pay for their hunting addiction. And this property can do it all. But to get this thing priced appropriately, you just got to look at the tools. You got to see what the data says, how other agents are listing properties, and then you got to market appropriately. Hey, if you're looking for a property like this, you know, this property is for sale. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson on how to price properties and the values that you could place on them by getting onto the property, looking around, and deciding what's its highest and best use. Hey, I'm Neil Hauger, land specialist with Whitetail Properties Real Estate. You've been watching The American Landman. I hope you'll hit that button right down there. Get subscribed, get notified when I put these new videos up. I appreciate the likes, shares, and comments. Thanks for watching.